All right, so today's class is going to be on Google Drive. Google Drive is essentially Google's foray into being a Dropbox competitor for cloud storage. And we will also be going over kind of what is cloud storage and what the difference is between cloud storage and storing stuff just on your computer in general. We'll start off with some pricing just so you can get a rough idea of if you should pay money. I'm not saying you should pay money, but for example, I do not pay money. So we'll kind of go over what you need and what you don't need. So for free, you get 15 gigabytes of storage. And this is 100% enough storage if you just want to store documents. So these are things like Excel files or Word documents and stuff like that. Now, even if you want to store a lot of photos, you also can still use the free space, because if you allow Google to compress your photos, then you can store an unlimited amount of photos. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, for $20 a year, you can get 100 gigabytes of storage. So if you have a business, or if you have a ton, and I mean a ton of documents, then you can kind of pay $20 a year and have peace of mind that you won't run out of storage. Personally, I have 3 Gmail accounts that I store stuff on. I have Dropbox, I have Mega, I have all of these different storage solutions. And combined, I think I'm storing about 500 gigabytes of files, including photos. So I wouldn't even need the 100 gigabytes of storage. But definitely if you're a small business, or if you have a lot of posters that you need stored or something like that, a lot of typefaces and a lot of other stuff besides documents, 100 gigabytes would make sense. Same with 200 gigabytes. And now if you just want to go crazy and store your entire computer, including like large videos, some applications, that kind of thing, then that was $100 a year. And you can essentially, within reason, store everything you have on multiple computers. So if you have 3 computers at the house, every single one of those computers can be backed up.
But Tim, that's not like a backup of your computer in the sense of if you all the operating system, is it? Or am
Uh,
I wrong?
Correct. So in this case, what I mean by backup is if your computer dies, you buy a new computer, and then you log into Google, and you can download every single file, every single kind of install application that you have on your computer. Hard drives are generally between like 256 and 1 terabyte in a new computer. So essentially what this means is anything you have on the computer would be able to fit in the large tier of Google Drive. That being said, I just want to remind everyone that I use the free 15 gigabytes, and that's more than enough for me. So we're going to go over online versus offline. And it's kind of it's a difficult question because a lot of this stuff is both online and offline at the same time. So it kind of gets muddled. But the questions we're going to go over in a little bit is what is stored in the cloud, what is stored on your computer, and what is stored on both. Continually, as we go through and I show you kind of how to use Google Drive, if you're wondering like how to get an option, like thinking back about this class and being like, I really wish I remembered how to change folder colors. The rule of thumb is just right click on it and you will get a lot more options. So if you're not sure what to do, try right clicking on stuff. We're also going to be going over sharing. And this is just for Mary and you guys to keep me honest, but we're going to go over what a viewer is, what a commentator is, what an editor is, and how to use the gear icon in the sharing wheel, in the sharing settings. Officially, if you search Google Drive, you may not hit the right result. Google Drive has been renamed to Google Backup and Sync, so that's just something to keep in mind. We'll also go over kind of photos because it's its own separate section for Google Drive. It's Google Drive, and then there's an application Google offers called Google Photos. Now, this application is online, so it's not like a program that you install on your computer. And this obviously is the question slide. And we will go on to Google Drive. Doop. So the first thing is, how do you get to Google Drive? Well, I'm already logged into my email address. And this is a fake one, so feel free to email it as much as you want. I don't respond to it. And I'll open up a new tab. And so if you were going to Google Drive for the first time, this is kind of how you would get there. I would go to drive.google.com, and it would then ask me to log in. Because I'm already logged in, it automatically just brings me right into Google Drive where all the fun stuff happens. So as you can see, this isn't really organized that well, but you can definitely organize it however you want. If you look at the top, which is this section, and I fully realize my screen is kind of big, so it may appear small to you. So what I'll do is I will increase the magnification on my side, and hopefully people are able to see this. So at the very top, we have a search. So one of the things that is the reason why I'm kind of in the Google ecosystem to begin with is their search. So this search will look inside documents for words and phrases, and it will also look at folders. It will also look at the title of documents. I can also search by name. So if you have someone who shared a document with you, so if Mary had shared a document to me, I could search in Drive for Mary, and then it would bring me up everything that Mary had sent me. So you can kind of see down here, we have name, we have owner, we have last modified, and we have file size. So these are all things you can search by additionally. Up here, if you click on search, you can also choose which type of document to search for. So this is for if you have a Excel file or a spreadsheet named the same thing as a Word file or a document, you can specify that you only want to find the spreadsheet. Right here.
So Tim, you're...
Yep.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Right below the search bar is My Drive. If I click on this, this gives me a lot of options. So this is generally where you would choose to create a new folder to organize, where you can upload files, upload folder, and create new documents on the fly. So if I wanted a new Google Doc, I would just select New and Blank Document. You may notice that there's a New button right here. I can also hit that, and it's pretty much the same menu. What were you saying, Mary?
Oh, I was just saying that you don't worry about folders and organizing your Google Drive at this point because the search is so powerful.
Yeah, so that's one of the largest things I think that's not unique to me, but kind of different with how I organize my documents and pretty much everyone who may be watching this. So I rely on Google search heavily, and I've gotten very good at knowing what keywords I should choose and kind of what my search terms are. But that being said, I still put stuff in folders. Now, this isn't a Google Drive that I use constantly, so it's not going to be as kind of cleaned up as my usual Google Drive, but normally I will have more folders that say very specifically, like, this is my work folder, this is my folder for things with library. So if I wanted to put library stuff, I would go to My Drive or New, hit Folder, and then I would just type in library. Check the spelling real quick and hit Create. So now you can see under here, I now have a library folder. So right above that, we have Quick Access. And this is honestly where I spend 99% of my time. So Quick Access is just documents or files that you have opened recently. So these are going to be the most recent documents. So you can see today I edited Google Drive. In the past month, I've edited the cloud storage class, shopping online, Google Docs, a test document, and a password manager. So these are things that I've edited recently, and these are kind of the files I would probably end up trying to open as well. So that works for me. if we hit the down arrow or the side arrow next to my drive in the top left, you can see that it says 04.2018 interesting library and test folder. If we look on the main screen, we can see that this is the same thing. So this is just another way of finding what you're looking for. So if I know what I'm looking for is in the interesting folder, I would click that. If there were documents in there, it would show up under here. Because I only have pictures, I just see the pictures. So now that I've opened this folder, you can see that I'm only seeing what is inside that folder. Now, if I want to go back, I have two options. One, I can hit my drive in the top left. This will bring me back to my drive. Now, if I go back to interesting and I hit my drive right here, which is also in the top left, it will go back to the main page as well. So this is just an easy way to go back to the main page if you accidentally clicked on the wrong folder. Now, one thing to note is you can see that I have no folders, nothing in the library folder. So what can I do? Well, I can right click anywhere and hit new folder to create a new folder. And now there's a folder called new folder 1 in library. If I open up new folder 1, something interesting happens. So I can see on the top left, I see my drive, library, and new folder 1. This is just so you always know where you are in your file storage and however you want to store your files. So if I ever get confused as to where I am, or if I want to go back one folder, I can always click library and go back to the library folder. If I want to go back to my drive, I can click and go back to my drive. Are there any, I know files and folders are like a really big question a lot of people have. So I want to kind of spend some time nailing out any issues people may have with creating new folders. Are there any questions at this point?
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask Tim whatever if you have a question.
I do. When you create a new folder, I've asked you this, you'd physically drag something into it, right? To store it in there.
Yeah, so I just created the library, in library, new folder 1. So if I wanted a file or document in new folder 1, I could essentially create a new folder or a new document, or I could also go to file upload, which would allow me to search my computer for a item and then hit upload. The other thing you can do is
Where was the upload button?
New. So the new button is essentially everything. So new, and then file upload, and then it will give me all this information where I can just go to my computer and kind of search for what I want in a traditional way.
You clicked it and then you go back to new and then you do the upload.
Yeah, so I go to the folder I want the file to be in. In this case, the folder name is new folder 1. I would go to the new button in the top left, hit new. I would go to file upload, and then I would kind of just click on the thing that I wanted to upload there, and then I would hit open. So I'll just do this one again. So one thing I want you to have seen in that is that on the bottom right, it shows me the things I'm uploading. So if I am uploading 100 files, it will kind of show me the progression of that upload. The other thing that happens is you notice this says 2 uploads complete. It says version 2 and keep a separate file. So the thing I really like about this is if you accidentally upload the exact same folder twice, you're not going to be using any more space because it notices that it's the exact same file and basically says, hey, you already have this, we're not going to upload it. So it kind of saves you from having duplicates everywhere in that manner. And I can always close that whenever I'm done with it. The other way you can put files or folders into your Google Drive is you can just click on it and drag it and then release. And it will automatically upload that file. you can see in the bottom right, it finished, and now there it is. So this is just how to do it on the online application. We will also be going over in a little bit how to do it on the desktop application. Personally, I spend 99% of my time in the online version. So this is by far what I'm more familiar with, and it's also what has the more advanced features.
Aren't you also online when you're doing desktop?
Yeah, so we're going to be going over that when we go over the desktop application.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to go back to my drive, and we can see that we still have all these folders. We're exactly where we left off. Now, if we continue our tour to the left-hand side, and we go to computers, and I click the down button, I can see these will be all of the computers that I have Google Drive stored on. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to see what is on that computer in Google Drive. It's useful to people with multiple computers generally, but I personally don't use it. Next, shared with me. These are all the documents that people have shared with me. So if someone shared you a document and you're like, I don't know where it is, you can just click over here to the shared with me folder, essentially, and you'll see everything that has ever been shared with you. So you can see I basically share stuff with myself and Mary. If I go to recent, again, this is just stuff that has either been uploaded recently, edited recently, or created recently. And you can kind of see on the right-hand side, like in the middle right-hand side, what has happened to it. So I can see that I uploaded testwave.wave at 1:22 p.m. and I can see the size of it. I can see that I did a VPN slide and it was opened by me on August 18th, 2020. Another thing you can do is you can star documents, and this is just a way that you can kind of organize it as something that is important, and then you can find them right here. And then if we go to trash, these are things that you delete. After 30 days, it will delete them. So if you accidentally start moving stuff to trash, you can always go into the trash and retrieve it. A little farther down, we can see storage. So we can see that I have used 170 megabytes of 15 gigabytes, which is essentially nothing. And we can click on storage and we can see everything that's stored. And we can also see how much is used. So if you are running low on storage and you have no idea what is taking up all this space, you can click on storage and find the largest files. And these will generally be videos. And you may say, okay, well, I can delete this one video and kind of free up a lot of space.
So Tim, there's a question in chat. If I've saved my 497 page manuscript as novel in Google Drive and nowhere else, and then save a 14-word memo to my editor under the same name in the same folder and turn off my computer, is there any way to recover my manuscript?
So with Google Drive, it won't delete it. Even if it's named the same, it knows that it's a separate file because it can kind of look inside the file and see if it's the same. So, if you have two documents that have the same name that are uploaded to the same location, Google will say, okay, well, this one is 497 pages. This one is 14 pages. They are not the same document. Save them both. If you accidentally delete something from Google Drive, it would then show up in the trash. So if you thought it was the same document and it ends up in the trash, it would still stay here. Pretty recently, or coming up soon, Google's going to change this so that any file that's in the trash for 30 days is automatically deleted. So if you don't notice it's gone until after 30 days, then you may be in trouble. But otherwise, it shouldn't delete anything.
And just to be sure, any file that's shared with you does not take up any storage on your Google Drive?
That's a little bit of a,
Not quite true.
in general, yes. Let's put it that way. You can kind of have shared folders where both Google Drives have the folder, but that's not something we're really going to get into because if you're at the point where you're really edging up and using all of your space, you should probably pay the money to buy more storage. And Google makes it very easy because that's really an incentive for them. And you just click the buy storage, and then you kind of get to a page where it's like, great, pay us money and we'll give you more storage. So I know some people don't like this layout. So this is back in the main Google Drive menu. So if you go here, you can change it to grid view, which is kind of a more traditional, bigger icon view. And you can see that it's now separated folders and files into two distinct sections. So all my folders will be here, sorted by name, and I can always change how it's sorted by clicking here, by clicking on the way it's sorting it, and then below it are files. I personally prefer list view, so I'll go back to that. There's something I want to do. Oh yeah, so if you're like me, you kind of enjoy sorting things by color. So if, for example, I had a folder for my finances, so I'll go create a new folder. I'll go up to new. I'll go to folder, and I'll title that finances. I believe I spelled that correctly. And now I will do the fancy thing of right-clicking on that folder. So I will right-click on that folder, and I can do two things to make it kind of stand out to me. I can add it to starred, so it'll always be in the starred menu. And the other thing I can do is go to change color and make it green because we're talking about money. So now it's very easy for me to tell, even without looking at the name, that this is my finances folder because it's green. So you can always sort or mark things as important just by changing the color. So it's very easy to see, like library is important, so I'll make it red. So now I can definitely see that these are my two folders that I should pay attention to because one is green and one is red. That's not something you need to do, but it is something that I find kind of interesting. So the next thing we're going to go over is how to share something. So I have a library folder, and I work closely with this one lady at the library, who I believe is the assistant director and is always very responsive to emails. So if you ever have a question, let her know, and she can pass the question on to me. Also, if you have any kind of class suggestions, you can always send them to Mary, and if we get enough response for a class, we will put that forward. But anyway, that was my TED Talk.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah,
How
no
much do I owe you?
Just that quarter that I owe you. We'll just
Okay,
cancel
good.
that debt.
All right. Good.
All right. So library. So I want to share this with Mary. So I will select library, make sure it's highlighted, go to this icon. So it's the person icon with a plus sign, and hit this. Now the share menu will pop up. This is exciting stuff, guys. All right. So add people and groups. So who do I have? Mary Hubbard. So I want to share this with Mary. So if I want Mary to get a notification that I have shared this with her, I want to make sure this is checked. And then I can add a message. So my message is short and simple. Here are the library files. And I can once again see that I'm sharing the folder called library. Now, I don't really trust Mary, so I don't want to make her an editor. Because if I make her an editor, then she can edit the things that are in this folder, like delete them. So I don't want that. So I just want Mary to be a viewer. I just want her to be able to view the files. View. Now, I'm still in my head. I also don't want Mary to be able to download the files for whatever reason, because I just want to share it and it to stay on my Google Cloud and not go anywhere else. So I can hit this gear icon in the top right, and sorry, folders are different. Cancel. All right. we're going to share this. Folders are slightly different. You can kind of see you didn't have as many options. So we will share this with Mary. So add the message.
Can I be a commentator?
Maybe. So viewer, commentator, and editor. Editor is essentially you have full control over the file. Commentator is you can add comments to the file that editors can see and then approve. This one I almost never use. And then there is viewer, and those are people who are just able to see and open the file. So if I go to the gear icon in the top right, I can change some of these options. So editors can change permissions and share. What this means is other editors, so people I share this with who are editors on it, are able to change permissions. So they're able to essentially make it so that other people are able to access the document more or less. And then viewers and commentators can see the option to download, print, and copy. If I don't want people to be able to download the file, I would deselect that, go back, and now whoever I share this with, who is a viewer, will not be able to then download the file or share it with other people. And then I'll hit send, and it'll go right to Mary. So if you remember, the options for the folder were a little bit different. We'll go back to the folder, go to the share button, got it, and share this again with Mary. So this time, I definitely trust Mary. She can be an editor. And then we'll go to the gear icon, and you can see that the only option we have available right now is editors can change permissions and share. What this means is if I have this selected, editors can essentially reshare this document to other people. If I deselect it, it means they can edit, save, download, copy this, whatever is in this folder, but they can't actually share the folder without my permission.
And I just want to let you know, Tim, I've already gotten the email telling me that you've shared a document with me.
Perfect. Now, let's say, just like myself, you have accidentally opened up the share menu and you don't know how to kind of stop it. There are two ways. As long as you don't have anyone selected, you can hit done and it just won't do anything. Or you can just hit the escape key on your keyboard and it will just close that share option.
So Tim,
Yep.
did you physically drag the folder in to share with Mary, or did you just go to OneDrive, my drive, and then you do the file update? Or
Yeah, so all I did is I just selected the folder. So you can kind of see it has a blue bar saying that I am interacting with the interesting folder. And then I just went to share, which is the person with a plus sign icon. Now,
and then you put it in the library. Did
Nope.
you put it in?
Before I was working with the library folder itself. So one of the slides on the document, on the presentation, was try right-clicking on stuff. And you'll notice that a lot of what I'm talking about with like this share icon being up on the top right, you can kind of ignore all that if you want to, if you just want to start right-clicking on things. So if I select the library folder and right-click on it, I'll see the option to share, and it's the same icon. So it has the person with a plus sign. I'll hit share, and I go right back into sharing.
Right, but did you go to the interesting file to put the stuff to share, or did you send a link? I guess I'm unsure what.
Yeah, so if I have things in the folder, like I have stuff in the interesting folder, and I share it, so right-click, share, and I share with Mary. Now Mary will have access to the folder and everything in it.
Okay.
But you can also just share something in the folder and not the whole folder.
Exactly.
With me, right?
If I just want Mary to see this eye picture, apparently, I can go to it, hit the share button, or just right-click and go to share, and then send that to Mary. So Mary is going to have a lot of random stuff, and then send. And yeah, sure, she can be a viewer. And she'll get that email in like 20 seconds maybe.
Okay.
So one thing to note is anytime you're sharing a file or a folder, you really want to do it from drive.google.com. You kind of don't want to mess with this in the desktop application itself. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten. We'll be going over the desktop application in just a little bit. So
Tim,
yep.
I also saw that you can share with a link. Why would you use the link as opposed to selecting an individual person to share?
Yeah, so that's a great segue into what we're going to discuss.
Great.
Is essentially, if anyone noticed, Mary did, there was a share link option. And why would you want to share a link? Well, as you'll see at the conclusion of today's class, every single one of you will get an email with a link to the presentation. And here is how I create that link. So I edited Google Drive. So this is the file that we have open right here. Now, there are two ways for me to share this with you guys. I can either right-click and go to share and ask Mary for every single one of your emails, which I really don't want to do. Or I can share with get link is the option. So this means anyone with the link will be able to view the file. Essentially, digging deeper is if you guys want to send a file or send the presentation to someone else, you can just use the same link because I'm sharing it with everyone who has that link. So change anyone with the link. Got it. Copy link. And now I will open up Teams, which is what Mary and I use, and I will paste it to her. And now if you see, I copied the link and I pasted it. And now anyone with the link can view. The other thing I can do is I can change it to viewer, commentator, editor. I always recommend doing viewer if you're doing links, because if someone else sends this link to someone and you made everyone an editor on this, then anyone who gets this link is able to do whatever they want with this either file or folder that you shared. So I always recommend viewer with the link. And then the other thing I can do is restrict. So I'm not really sure why you would use this option instead of just manually typing in people's names. Because with a restricted link, I still need to add everyone individually to be allowed to access the link. So I generally only use link for anyone with the link, and done. Now, how could this be useful for you? If you have a small business, or if you just want to send out an email to a whole bunch of people and just give them a link to a bunch of photos, you can just share with the link. And that way you don't have to kind of go into Google Drive and make sure you type everyone's name out in the share section and do all that stuff. You can do that in whatever email application you want.
Tim, can you backtrack? How did you get the link?
How did I get the link? I right-clicked on something.
Right.
Or I go to the share icon, or I go to the, not to give you too many options, get link icon. So what I do is I right-clicked on a folder in this case, but same thing works with the document. So I will just right-click on library. I will hit get link. And now I go to the kind of share link page. I will go to, from restricted, I will switch it to anyone with the link. I will copy the link, and then whoever has this link that I send will now have access to the library folder.
Right, but you still have to email it to everybody today, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Mary's the one who does the emailing, which is why I just sent her the link.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So you may wonder, I'll hit done, that you shared something and you kind of want people to not have it anymore. So what can you do? You can go to it, get link, change, go to setting. Oh, disabled. 1 second. Have I really forgotten how to do that? Apparently. It's very exciting.
That's all right. I can't remember how to do it either. But there is a way that you can actually remove access to the link.
Yeah. And I know I can manually do it. Huh. I think that may be something I add in afterwards and pretend like I am very knowledgeable about this subject, like I appeared 5 minutes ago. All right, there is a way. For some reason, it is eluding me at the moment. I'm not really sure why.
No.
But
There is a question in chat about creating subfolders. And can you just take a moment to show, that you can actually do layers of folders in a folder.
yeah, so if we go back to the library folder, you can see that I created a new folder called new folder 1. I could also go to the plus sign or right click. I will right click and go to new folder and set this as important. Create. So that is creating a folder in a folder.
And you could create a folder within the important folder as well.
So I can go into important, right click, new folder, still important. Hit create, and I can go into that folder, right click, new folder, more important. So you can really do this for as long as you want. I highly don't recommend it, but you are able to kind of create this whole Russian doll thing of nested folders.
So Tim, the Hive Mind has, I think, found our solution. Right click the link, and it should be remove at the bottom.
Oh, this is, I believe it's delete.
Oh, delete.
So
okay.
Trash, library. So that's a good thing, is I deleted this by accident. How do I get it back? Well, there are a couple ways. And the couple ways are, you can either literally drag it out. So like click and drag it. But what I generally like to do is right click and hit restore. And that way it goes back to the exact same place it was before we deleted it. We went over change color. If you name something incorrectly, like if I wanted to change this test folder to something else, I would right click on it and go to rename. And now I can type in a new name and hit OK. And now you can see the name has updated.
Wonderful. And there's one more question in the chat. Is the preview option different from preview on Mac?
Yeah, so on Mac, preview is an application, which is a different application than what Google is. Okay. So if I right click and go to preview, essentially what it does is it opens it up without opening up the document, is one way to think about it, which I know is confusing. But this is a way for me to quickly kind of see what a document is without changing my page. So right now I'm in my drive. If I wanted to just quickly see if a document is what I'm looking for or an image is what I'm looking for, I could preview it instead of going to the application to actually open it up. Now, if I wanted to open this after previewing it at the very top, I can hit open with. All right. So are there any questions about files and folders in the online Google Drive?
Anybody have any questions? Otherwise, we'll move to the computer version. Great.
All right. So that was a gotcha. We're not done. I just wanted to make sure before I moved on to what I consider a extraneous but still occasionally useful feature. So I deleted something, library, right? But what if you were actually editing a document and you accidentally, kind of as John said earlier, what if you edited that document, the 497 page manuscript, and accidentally deleted it, the stuff inside the document, right? I feel like that may be a difficult concept. All right, so a short story. I'm just opening this up so I can edit it. It's a lot of pages, apparently. I was joking. A short history of the world. I'm hilarious. All right, a short history of the world. I'll just make an edit to it. We can see that it was last edit was seconds ago. I'm not going to go too far into this specifically with documents because we do have a Google Drive or Google Documents class, but I did want to show this. All right, so I edited this document. If I go to the top, I'll close it, and I can see that a short story, which is what I was editing, was last modified at 1:47 p.m. by me. So what if that edit, actually, I'm just going to make that edit do it. All right, hi, save. All right, last edit was seconds ago. So I have taken my manuscript that I have worked years on and accidentally deleted everything inside it and saved it, right? So it's saved. If I open a short story, all it says is hi. My life's work, gone.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So what can we do? Well, if we select it and go to more actions, and we go to, if we go to, we can't get this through this, but if we go to the eye icon, which is details, we can see that we've edited it. Details, 0 bytes, last edited today, activity. We can see that I edited it today at 1:40, and we can go to the file. We can also open up the file and see that it is gone. Now, wow, come on, I just saw it.
Yeah, it's there.
Do you remember where it is, Mary?
The short story.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. Let's see, there it is. So you just go back to the earlier version.
Yeah, it's still the same version. Tools.
Would a Control Z work?
Yeah, I can go backwards if I was still in the same document, but I closed it. So I like to add this part in just so everyone realizes that I could mess up a lot. All right. Phew. Okay. So we found version history. So if we go to last edit was 2 minutes ago and click on it, we can see that these were the changes that were made. And the strike through is all this stuff is deleted. So if I go back in time and click on this, all will be right with the world. So I click on the link I want to restore. I hit restore this version and done.
So Command Z won't do it then.
So Command Z will do it if I accidentally delete everything again and I go backwards. But if I kind of save the changes by exiting it, then I need to go to here, open version history, and then choose the version I want.
Okay.
Whew, that was like...
You're just...
This apparently is doubling as a suicide prevention class.
Exactly. Because I don't know if anyone else has done this, but I've definitely done this.
Yes. Well, and you're just modeling the behavior for us, Tim. You actually knew all of this but you just wanted to show us
The
a
thought
certain level.
process. Oh, yeah,
The thought process. I
exactly.
completely understand.
All right, so we have successfully brought that back from the dead. Same with my sanity.
Whew.
That was close, everyone. All right, so without further ado, we're going to skip over that last 7 minutes and go to the desktop version. This is why I don't keep any weapons near my computer. That is also correct. I also don't keep bricks or kind of handyman tools near my computer either. So we're back. We're in Google Drive, the main menu. All is right with the world. If we go to settings, you'll see that we have a settings option. It's not really that interesting. Essentially, you can kind of change the view a little bit. I personally like the standard view, but if you want it to be kind of see a lot more right behind the settings, you can see that as I change this from compact to comfortable, it gives a lot more space between the files. So if you want to see as much as you possibly can, you can select compact. You can also select offline, which is what we're going to be talking about in 5 minutes, I swear. So offline. If I check this, cancel, it will mean that it will, 1, install an extension in my browser, and 2, whenever I edit a Google document or file on this browser and I'm online, if I then become offline, it will still allow me to find and edit that document in Google Drive. I personally don't like this because I like the desktop application for this instead. But if you are in a situation where your internet at home is really flaky, you can select this offline option. And that means basically whenever you use a file or edit a file in your browser and you shut down your computer, turn it back on, and you no longer have internet, you would then be able to access and edit that file. So that's what that button does, and this is the main button you want to pay attention to in settings. I see a question
about photos.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be going over photos in just a little bit. But if I hit settings, so that is the gear icon on the top right, and I go to get drive for desktop. So for example, I either never had Google Drive on my desktop, you can choose to believe that, or I just deleted it so you can see the install process. And I click on that, it will take me to this page, which is google.com/drive/download. And we can see 4 individuals, that's us, and it's called Backup and Sync. And I will hit download, agree and download. Sorry about that. You will notice that if you had quick eyes, that it said backup and sync for Windows. If you have a Mac, it will automatically detect that you are using a Macintosh computer, and it will download the Apple version. The install process is very similar. So we will hit save. And we can see in the bottom left of this browser that install backup and sync has finished. So I will click on it. I'm not sure if you're able to see this, but it says, do you want to allow this app to make changes? I just click yes, because I just installed it, so I know what I'm doing, theoretically. It shouldn't take that long to install. There we go. Installation complete, and close. So you may be wondering, wow, that was very anticlimactic. I don't really see anything going on. And you would be correct. So if I go to the bottom right of my screen, which may be extremely tiny for everyone, but I swear it's there, there is an icon, and I will try and describe the icon. It is a cloud with an arrow pointing up in the cloud. So I go over that, I'll hover over it, and it says backup and sync from Google, not signed in. So I will click on that cloud icon, and then this will pop up. Welcome to backup and sync, and get started. The first step is to sign in with your Google account. So this is my account and password. Notice how my password is longer than my account for some reason. Hit next. Notice how I misspelled my password. One of the negative things about having really long passwords. I hit next, and now it will go through kind of the setup process it wants to do. So choose folders from your computer to continuously back up to Google Drive. So here is where some people may run into trouble if they're using the free amount of storage. Got it. So these are all of the files that it is going to take from my computer and put on Google Drive. So you can see these are my computer, choose folders to continuously back up to Google Drive. And it will automatically kind of find and select some folders for you. So it's asking me, do I want to back up my desktop? No. I will deselect it. Do I want to back up my documents? No. And do I want to back up my pictures? No. I am saying no because this is an account that I really don't want associated with my personal computer. So we're not going to kind of add things. But if you wanted all of your pictures to be automatically imported or all of your documents to be automatically imported, here is where you would do it. Now you may ask, what if there's a file or folder that I want to be backed up but isn't in this list? Well, and by backed up, I mean continuously backed up. Well, I can hit this, choose folder, which is in the bottom left of this little menu. And it will give me access to my computer. And now I can back up whatever I want. So continuously back up anything that I want. So I like to keep things in my downloads folder because I'm weird. And I will hit select folder. Now you can see there's a check mark, downloads, and it is calculating the size. So my downloads folder is 35.5 gigs. So clearly I would need to buy more space. So I will uncheck that. But you can kind of see how you can add additional folders to this if you want certain things backed up. You can just keep adding. And you can get back to this menu at any time if you want to add additional things. So this slightly will go over the Photos module, but as soon as I install Google Backup and Sync, it gives me the photo option. So not only did it automatically find my pictures folder, and it wants to kind of automatically grab those, but it also is asking me about high quality versus original quality. So here's what I will say about file quality or original quality and high quality. If you are taking family photos, high quality is perfect. I have a very difficult time discerning which of my photos is the high quality one and which of my photos is the original quality one. And by difficult, I mean it's essentially impossible unless you really zoom into an image. Now, if you're a professional and you're going to be editing photos significantly, or you just want to do like a 30-foot by 40-foot billboard, then we'll be having a different discussion and you can choose original quality. But in general, high quality is almost indistinguishable from original quality. And if you select high quality, you get unlimited photos. The next option is upload photos and videos to Google Photos. This is essentially if you want new photos that are put into pictures or documents or whatever you have selected up here to automatically go into Google Photos as well. And then I would hit next. Now the option is sync files from my drive to a folder on this computer. So what this means is what we just went over is how to take files and folders from your computer and put them on Google Drive. What this is now asking us is if we want to take files and folders from Google Drive and put them on our computer. In this case, I will hit yes. So the option is sync my drive to this computer. Basically what this means is if there are any files in my Google Drive, they will go onto my computer. And if my computer then is offline for any reason, I still have all of those files on my computer so I can edit them and make changes. And then whenever my computer is back online, those files will get shuttled up to Google Docs, to Google Drive.
Right.
And you can also select specific folders. So if I only am interested in saving the files and folders in library, I can select only library. But it's only 52 megabytes, so I'm just going to hit start. So now you can see two things. One, in the bottom right, it says backup and sync is setting up. And it also opened under my name, Google Drive. So you can kind of see this folder is empty. And this folder is everything that I have in Google Drive. And you can kind of see it being populated with all the files and folders that I have in Google Drive. And if you kind of look to the left of this folder, and you can kind of see 04/2018 Finances Interesting Library No Name folder, you can see that everything is over here as well. So it's taking everything from my Google Drive and putting it on my computer. Now, if I delete No Name folder, got it. That's Dropbox. So you can see that it kind of was like, whoa, 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 what? So in the bottom right, the cloud icon with a little bit of a up arrow, it said remove item in Google Drive from Google Drive. So you moved new name folder to the trash. Google Docs are permanently deleted when Google Drive trash is emptied. So what this is asking is, did you actually mean to delete that? I can hit restore and it will put it back, or I can hit remove and it will remove it from Google Drive. This takes a certain amount of time, and by a certain amount of time, I meant 3 seconds, and it will remove that folder from Google Drive. So be careful, because anything you do in this folder will also affect what you have online. Now, the next question people may have is, how do I put stuff into this Google Drive and how do I access it? Well, that's a great question. I have closed out of Google Drive. How do I get there on my computer? There are three ways, which I feel is too many ways and may confuse people, so we're only going to show you 2 ways to get back to it. The first way is it will automatically create a shortcut on your desktop called Google Drive. They're very imaginative. And if I double click on it, it will open. And now I can see that I'm back in my Google Drive folder. The second way to get there is if I go to the bottom right of my computer. If you have a Macintosh, it would be the top right, and click on Backup and Sync from Google. I can then click on the Open Google Drive folder icon, which is also a folder icon, and it will automatically open my Google Drive folder on my computer.
Right.
Yeah, and if you want to put stuff in your Google Drive, you can drag it into Google Drive. And now this folder is up in Google Drive. If you can see on the bottom right, it's kind of difficult, but there is the cloud icon has kind of the recycling logo, and it's turning, showing that it's updating stuff. And if I click on it, I can now see that this is what it is uploading. And I can see it is syncing 39 of 181 files. So it may take a while, but it will eventually upload all of these files.
Tim, will the uploading interfere with anything else you're doing on your computer?
Well, let's do this. let's open up Task Manager, because that's everyone's favorite thing, and go to CPU usage. And Google Drive Sync is using 1.6% of my CPU, which is nothing, and 203 megabytes of RAM, which is nothing. So I
So
feel
it just
fairly,
works in the background.
yeah. It shouldn't really mess you up.
Right.
But that's a really good question. Now, if your computer is older than mine, you may see some sluggishness, but it is supposed to work in the background. And it will also be time dependent based on your computer, on your internet connection. So if your internet connection is really bad, this may take a really long time for however many folders you have. So the next section, which I'm going to blaze onto, please keep your questions for the desktop application, any you have, and I'll definitely be willing to stay till whenever and answer them. But I want to quickly go over the Photos application. As far as the desktop application with Photos, you kind of saw in the beginning that it asked me what I wanted to do with any photos that I put in here. And I said, put them in the compressed quality and throw them up online. So any photos I put in here will go into Google Photos. Now, there isn't a Google Photos application for the desktop anymore. So if I go back to Brave and I go to Google Photos, and one way to get there from Drive is I can click on the Rubik's Cube in the top right, Google Apps, and click on Photos. Another way is I can just go to photos.google.com. So these are the photos that I have in this Google account. You can organize photos by albums, so you can easily, if you just took a trip to the White Mountains and you took a lot of photos, you can easily, whenever all those photos get added, you can easily just put them into an album and call it White Mountains Trip 9/29/2020. That's how I name things, but I realize that's not that exciting. So, photos. One of the oh, by the way, here's what I look like. But in any case, Google Photos is possibly my favorite thing about Photos.
So when you were earlier looking at Google Drive with pictures and the desktop operation, you also had the opportunity to upload any photo from documents or pictures or your desktop up into Google Photos as well?
Correct.
Okay.
I personally have that turned off because I like to be in manual control, but the automated stuff is pretty awesome. So for example, on my phone, I have it set to automatically take any photo I have on my phone, any photo I take, and put it right to Google Photos. This is obviously not my primary Google account, but we will work with it. So let's pretend I have like 30,000 photos, and I want all the photos of people. I can go to the search bar, hit people, and photos of people will show up. If I'm looking for that photo of a mountain I took, that was pretty awesome, I can search for mountains. If I want just people with beards, I'll find photos with people with beards. This one, it got a little confused because of the darkness. But you can kind of see how albums are useful, but personally, I just really like searching for my photos. So if I search for dog, I'll find pictures of dogs. Now, it's not perfect. If you notice, it only found 2 pictures of dogs. And I have this one as well, I think. Nope, it found, yeah, it missed one. But in general, it's pretty good. So if I search cat, and it is getting better all the time. If anyone noticed, I also have a tiger in there, which cat didn't find. But if I search tiger, it finds the tiger. Now you may be asking, how do I upload folder or pictures to kind of Google Photos? And there are a couple ways to do it. One is in the top right hand corner. I can hit upload, and then I can find photos and files and whatever I want to upload. Or I can go to my computer, go to pictures, and upload, just drag and drop. I'm uploading that. I think all these are the ones that are already on here, but I'll upload them anyway. Drag and drop. In the bottom left, it'll say that I'm uploading photos to Google Photos, 22 of 25, 25 of 25. And because I added them at the same time, which is what I really like, I can add to album. So I will click add to album, and I will do new album, and I will do important photos. And now hit the checkbox, go back, and all of those images, photos that I just uploaded are now in an album called important photos, so I can easily find it. So basically, if you take a bunch of photos from a single vacation and upload them all at once, you can then automatically just put them in an album and kind of save them that way. Now,
there's a,
yep.
Oh, sorry.
You may be
Please.
wondering kind of what the compression does. These photos are not fully sized, but you can kind of see that they still look really good. Like, honestly, unless you zoom into them really, really closely, you can't notice a difference with uploading in compressed versus original quality.
So there are two questions in chat, one of which is, how do you upload photos from an iPhone to Google Photos? And then what's the advantage of Google Photos versus Google Drive?
Okay, so those are both really good questions. And let's see. If I go to my iPhone, which unfortunately you can't see, I'm just going to make sure I'm not lying. Yep. So if you go to your iPhone and go to the App Store and you just search for Google Photos, you can install Google Photos on your iPhone. What that does is whenever it installs, it'll ask you if you want to save all of your photos to Google Photos. If you hit yes, then any photo you take with your iPhone will automatically be uploaded to Google Photos as well. So it doesn't remove your photos from your phone. It doesn't remove your photos from being uploaded to iCloud. It, in addition, will save them to your Google Photos application. Now, what is the advantage of Google Photos versus Google Drive? And the main advantage of Google Photos is it is a dedicated place for photos versus Drive, which is not. So you can kind of see I do have photos in Google Drive. Any photo I have in Google Drive will take up memory. So it will take up, this one is taking up 453 kilobytes, this one is taking up 99 kilobytes, which doesn't really matter. But if I had a lot of photos in Google Drive, then that would take up a significant amount of storage. If I save them in Google Photos, they take up no storage as long as I allow Google to compress it. And I also find the interface better just because it's created for photos versus Google Drive, which is created more for files and folders.
Do you have to do anything to allow Google to compress them?
Nope, it's all in that initial setup. It'll essentially give you a checkbox. Now, if you mess up, or not mess up, but if you click original file size, and then in 6 months, your drive is all filled up, Google will give you an option to either buy more storage, which they recommend. They will also give you an option to compress all of your photos, which I recommend. So you can kind of like batch, just compress all the photos and free up all of your space. Unfortunately, I don't have enough photos to make that pop up, but
Wonderful. So are there any questions for Tim about Google Photos? Great. Thank you, Tim.
And if anyone has any questions that they either are mulling over or don't think about until tomorrow or later today, feel free to let Mary know. I will be updating the files with any questions we receive and any answers. So if you look at it at the slideshow this weekend, you'll be able to see any of those questions asked and answered. The other option is tomorrow. On Wednesday, there's always a tech drop-in. So if you have any question, or if I didn't explain something clearly, or you go back and try it on your own and I kind of skipped over a part accidentally, feel free to drop in and we can go over that tomorrow. And that starts at noon.
And you can always get the link for that on the Peterborough Town Library website under events. It's pasted there. So you don't have to ask me for the link. You can just go directly from the events page. So, and next week you're doing iCloud, correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We will put the recording and send the slides around. And I think everyone's learned a huge amount, Tim. Really, really appreciate it.
I mean, and again, if there are any questions, I realize that Google Drive is a pretty expansive kind of suite of tools. Any questions, just let us know and we'll do our best to answer it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I will end the